For the first time ever, Egypt and the EU are convening in Brussels for a landmark summit. The event aims to deepen the political and economic partnership to secure shared stability and prosperity. Leaders are uniting to deepen cooperation and confront pressing global issues, from regional conflicts to economic growth. Beyond trade and investment, the summit is a platform to tackle global challenges, including the Middle East, Ukraine, migration, and security. On the sidelines of the summit, EU leaders affirmed their readiness to work with Egypt on the full range of international issues, viewing the meeting as an excellent opportunity to unleash the full potential of this crucial relationship. This will be our discussion for the day in depth. I'm Morsi, stay tuned. Cairo takes center stage at the first ever EU-Egypt summit, a landmark meeting aimed at deepening the strategic and comprehensive partnership between the two sides. Today's summit in Brussels is the culmination of a process that officially began with the partnership's launch in Cairo in March 2024. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi will be hosted by European Council President Antonio Costa and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. The focus is on bilateral relations and deepening the political and economic partnership to foster shared stability, peace, and prosperity. Leaders will also address global challenges, including the situation in the Middle East, Ukraine, trade, migration, and security. On the sidelines of the highly anticipated summit, the EU's High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Kaya Kallas, emphasized the strategic partnership with Egypt and the EU's readiness to coordinate with Cairo on global issues. According to Egypt Today, Kallas, who also serves as Vice President of the European Commission, made the remarks following a meeting earlier today with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in Brussels. Kallas reaffirmed that the EU's willingness to cooperate with Egypt on all international issues, including the Middle East and Ukraine. For more analysis, we're joined from Cairo by Ambassador Youssef Echaoui, a former Egyptian Deputy Foreign Minister, and Khaled Dawood, the Managing Editor of Al Ahram weekly newspaper. Thank you both for joining us. Let's start off with you, Mr. Ambassador. Now, what is the significance of this first ever EU-Egypt summit?
Actually, the summit, this first ever summit between Egypt and the EU in this month, the month of October 2025, is actually some kind of transition when it comes to the relationship between Egypt and Europe.
Okay, Mr. Khaled, earlier today, Egypt's Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli also confirmed that President el-Sisi's participation marks the culmination of what they described as a strategic partnership path between Egypt and EU. Based on this, how do you envision the EU-Egypt cooperation evolving within the near future? We've always been very close, but do you think this is going to increase the closeness between Egypt and EU member states?
Well, thank you, Raham, for having me. Certainly, that's an important turning point in the long relationship between Egypt and the European Union at a very critical time for both sides. As you know, I mean, the relationship between Egypt and many European nations were mainly, perhaps in the past, limited to the trade issues and cooperation on economic matters, but at this particular time in which the region is facing unprecedented levels of instability because of the Israeli war against Gaza and turmoil in several countries in the region, there is a great need for strong cooperation between Egypt and the European Union and key European countries in order to settle those political issues and the wars that are affecting the interests of both Egypt and the European Union. And I think that you have seen over the past 2 years in particular how Egypt's strong relationship with key European countries such as France, the Germans, and the Dutch and the Danish was very influential in pushing those countries to adopt a more balanced position when it comes to the Israeli war against Gaza. And I think the Egyptian role in communicating with those key European countries was very influential in convincing those European nations to take a positive step and recognize the future Palestinian state, which added to the pressure on the current extremist government in Israel to end the war and to accept the Trump peace plan and to perhaps open up some opportunities for some future peace process. So that's one important aspect in terms of Egypt's cooperation with key European nations. We also have other thorny issues that we need to work on, such as the situation in Libya and the situation in Sudan. We need to coordinate closely with the Europeans on settling the conflicts in those countries. And of course, there is the issue which is a matter of great concern to the European Union concerning the issue of migration. Egypt's cooperation with Europe on this aspect is very important because if you think about it, Seham, I mean, helping Egypt economically and provide this generous package of aid that the Europeans agreed to provide Egypt with $7.4 billion helps maintain stability in the region and providing economic opportunities for people in the region. And that's one key way to prevent the issue of the illegal migration to Europe, which is a priority for the European countries. So those are all the matters that I'm sure President Sisi is going to discuss in details with all the top European officials he's going to meet in the coming 2 days.
Okay, Ambassador Youssef, you heard Mr. Khaled there talking about the idea that the summit is intended to address a wide range of issues. And obviously this is on the agenda as well. Whether it be trade, investment, security and political arenas as well are there and are on the agenda. But in your opinion, what are the specific areas that we most focused on when it comes to cooperation between Egypt and the EU?
I think that one of the priorities here is the diplomacy of development. This is our number one priority here, to try to find investment for Egypt and from the European countries, especially France and United Kingdom and Germany. And there is another challenge, I think, is the illegal immigration, and we also have the issue of authorities. And I would like to say that Egypt has succeeded with also from other countries from the European Union and with the United States to any illegal immigration from Egypt and other countries to European countries, for example, since 2017. And this also is a very important meeting. And so I think that His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi also the most important issue in that time also in this regard is the question of the Palestinian state. Egypt is doing its best since 1948, and from that time, 1948, 1956, 1967, 1973,
And the last 10 years also in intensive and extensive efforts to try to achieve our hope, our dream is the auto-determination, the Palestinian state, and its capital is Jerusalem. And Egypt succeeded also in the last 2 years to also rally a lot of countries to support the question of recognition of Palestine. And we, in coordination with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and also the France, that important conference in New York was succeed, and now we have 160 countries from 193 countries are now recognized Palestine. But also in that in this important visit, I think we are in need for this is my opinion, also for the role of the European Union to support the question of finance, the rehabilitation and restructure of Gaza in that time, and also concerning the achievement of the Palestinian state. And we think in that regard the effort of Spain, a leading country, and the United Kingdom, and France, and Holland, Portugal, and other countries like Canada, like another non-European countries like South Africa, and some Latin American countries, which are all of them are doing it to support the Palestinian state. So in that regard, this important in terms of the time of this very important meeting is important for that regard. And I think also this meeting is also express the honor of the European Union for His Excellency Mr. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Egypt for its role to achieve stability and peace in that regard concerning the ceasefire which now are taking place, and also concerning the stability in the region. So why this important strategic meeting with the European Union in Brussels, capital of Europe, capital of European Union, capital of NATO, it is very important in that time. And we are very keen also to support our relation with the European Union, because in terms of commercial relation between the two countries, I think now the balance of trade about $32 million according to 2024, and we are keen to also increase the European investment in Egypt, which now about $32 million according to 2024, and we are the investment of the European Union about 65 million euro, and I think also we are waiting now the another financial support from European Union for 2004 for about 3 years for about $7 million, and this is will help us to achieve our goal to achieve our social and economic development in Egypt.
Okay, Mr. Khaled, if we can get your take here. Now, President al-Sisi has expressed Egypt's desire to strengthen EU cooperation when it comes to implementing the Gaza agreement, and Kaya last reaffirmed that the EU support for Gaza's reconstruction is there. How will this summit help define the EU's role when it comes to the Gaza Reconstruction Summit in Cairo?
Well, I think it's going to be very vital. As you know, Riham, I mean, the European Union has been one of the key supporters of the Palestinian Authority, as well as the UN agencies that help the Palestinian people, topped with UNRWA, which has been fought very hard against by Israel and by the United States. So at the time, Israel has closed down the offices of the UNRWA, and the United States has stopped its contribution to the UNRWA news agency, which has a vast experience in running the Gaza Strip and providing aid to Palestinian refugees in Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Palestine. Of course, the European Union has chipped in to compensate for the money that was withdrawn by the United States and other countries that brought in the Israeli allegations about UNRWA's support for Palestinians in Gaza. So I guess the Europeans, at the end of the day, they are the closest to the Middle East region, and it's in their own interest to see stability in that region, of course, mainly through political intervention and settling the war disputes, as Their Excellency the Ambassador has noted, by recognizing the Palestinian state, but also this very difficult upcoming task of the reconstruction of Gaza is going to require tremendous amounts of contributions. There are some studies that put the figure for the reconstruction of Gaza around $53 billion, which is a huge amount of money. And of course, the Europeans are expected to chip in generously into this process. But I hope also, Riham, that Europe will maintain the same firm stand against Israel in case it decides to breach the ceasefire agreement that's in effect right now, or to delay the withdrawal from the occupied Gaza Strip, or expand the settlements in the West Bank, and take some practical measures that they have already started by suspending certain military equipment, providing them to Israel, or by taking sanctions against extremist ministers within Netanyahu's government, such as the National Security Minister Ben-Gvir and the Finance Minister Smotrich, preventing them from entering the EU countries because of their racist and their statements that call for the forced expulsion of Palestinians. So I think Egypt's communication and contacts with European countries are very important to assure European contribution to the reconstruction and provide political support for the Palestinian people.
Okay, Mr. Khalid and Ambassador Youssef, if you could both just stay with us as we witness this landmark summit in Brussels. From deepening economic ties to addressing the global crises, the first EU-Egypt summit aims to deliver real solutions. Okay, Mr. Khalid, if we can get your take again now, given the global challenges like the conflicts in the Middle East, as well as what's happening in Ukraine, how will Cairo leverage this partnership to go beyond just mediation and pursue concrete steps towards a more lasting peace?
Well, again, Riham, Egypt's position on the Palestinian issue is not that of mediation. It's a matter of national security for Egypt directly, because, we cannot ignore the long history that links Egypt to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict back since 1948, and the wars that we've had against Israel in 1948, 56, 67, 73, and later all the firm Egyptian positions rejecting Israeli ambitions to basically forcibly deport the Palestinian people, especially over the past 2 years after the October 7 attack by Hamas against Israel. I think without Egypt's firm stand rejecting the forced deportation of the Palestinian people, we would have seen a totally different scenario taking place, and would have definitely been confronted with a second Nakba, or a second catastrophe, similar to 1948, when the Israelis forcibly displaced millions of Palestinians from their homeland in the areas of Palestine that were occupied in 1948. And of course, aware of this historic situation and the Israeli ambitions in the greater Israel, which Prime Minister Netanyahu himself said he considers it to be a personal mission for him to achieve. Definitely Egypt had to maintain a very strong stand against those Israeli expansionist ambitions. And Egypt, as the major regional power in this region, is definitely not going to stay put when we can see one country that's violating all sorts of international laws and are seeking to impose itself as the bully of the region. And that's something definitely that affects Egypt's interests and would lead to a very different situation in terms of stability in this region. And I think that the European understanding of the importance of the Egyptian role and the need for Egypt to continue its effort to settle the Palestinian cause on the long term is one reason why we are seeing this current unprecedented summit taking place in Brussels.
Okay, Ambassador Youssef, the Egypt-EU strategic partnership was launched in Cairo in March of last year. What sort of tangible economic outcomes can Egyptians expect from this summit?
Countries have a relationship formalized by the association agreement that serves legal basis for their cooperation, which recently, as I told you, promoted to a comprehensive and strategic partnership. I think this partnership, we can also depend on it to also the political, economic, and cooperation with the 27 countries of EU. This is very important for us, and I think what is important here that there is now from both sides are realize it is very important for both sides for mutual interest.
Yes.
So I think this will help us also for Egypt to do more role of peace in the Middle East.
Okay.
And personally, I think it is high time also for EU to reset the Quartet group,
Yes.
which includes of EU and the United Nations, United States of America, and Russia.
Okay, sir, your point there is clear, but we're out of time. Thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador. That was Ambassador Youssef al-Sharqawi, a former Egyptian Deputy Foreign Minister, and Khalid Dawood, the Managing Editor of Al-Ahram weekly newspaper. Thank you both for your insights. This brings us to the end of today's episode of In Depth. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for more updates here on Q News.